Hi guys, how are you? Welcome to this first video on the Alkaline Reprogram. I'm Yanni the Witch. The Alkaline Witch, I have a platform where I promote alkaline lifestyle. And this is the first video of a series of videos I'm doing. A lot of people buy my meal plans or, our events, and they are very interesting in knowing further about the alkaline lifestyle. And I think that what's really valuable about it sometimes is to know why, or a little bit of the logic behind it, why it's so life-changing, transforming, not just physically and mentally, but also spiritually. So I always do in my retreats, in my events, this presentation, which for full disclosure, I came up with. A lot of it I learned, of course, from Dr. Sebi, from other sources as well. And a lot of it is just my own intuition, my own research and experimentation with it. In this first video, I want to talk about electric foods mostly and the human body. I'm not going to linger too much on ingredients, what to eat, recipes. That will come later. And also after this first video, I will make one more because I believe health to be completely holistic. I always said you have a hand that has two sides, yet they are inseparable. You cannot separate them. I think the health is the same. Body, mind, and soul are all one. They cannot be separated from each other, but they also each need their own elements to stay in health. So I think we need to see them separate, but we also need them to see them together and how they interact. Each part interacts with each other. So the second part of my video is always, on my presentation, is always about the interaction of these three elements and how to integrate not just the food, which is a massive thing because it's 4 times a day, sometimes even more, that you are intaking from the outer source into the inner source. You're taking energy that is lesser than yours, and your body's working really hard to make it into a higher form of energy, vital energy. So we explore a little bit how we can help that process, make it more effective, make it more fun, make it more interesting to your human experience. So let's go with my presentation. As I say, this is the result of many experiments and ideas and things that I've studied. So Alkaline Reprogram. So Alkaline Reprogram, balance your pH and heal with food. It is the name I've given it. This obviously is never here, and now can move it. It is not about eating less, it's about eating right. That's one of the most famous phrases by Dr. Sebi. And that is one of the premises that I live by. I love food, I love to eat, even though I do times of fasting, especially for women with their cycle. We can just go into these starvation diets that don't really work. So Dr. Sebi premises is not to eat less, is to eat the right food and as much as you want. So Dr. Sebi, he called himself a doctor because he healed people, but not in the formal education meaning of the word. He was not a doctor, he was an herbalist and a healer, born in Honduras in 1933 and died in 2016 in the he died in the United States. He traveled the world searching for the most natural way of eating, the natural foods. He researched a lot. He did a lot of experimentation, and he postulated these ideas about alkaline non-hybrid food that we're going to study. He died in police custody at the border in America, trying to leave the country. They pinned him with $37,000 he couldn't account for. And then he died of pneumonia in police custody, which obviously opened up a lot of controversy about him being silenced by the pharma because his methods are truly amazing and costless. Like, they don't cost anything other than food and herbs, which are cheap. You know, the truth about his death, we don't know. I watched a few interviews with his family. I felt like they were not too keen or saying things because obviously it always represents a risk to speak up against the pharma complex, which is the war complex, which is the food complex, which is the whole world domination complex. But I feel like he was onto something, and they didn't want him to speak or to promote the truth about what he was saying. I found him that he's very famous in various circles, and yet I never heard of him until I consciously and willingly started to research how to heal the body, how to heal each organ, and that's how I came across Dr. Sebi in a book and on the internet. I mean, and you know, synchronicities are wild. Somebody else came in the same way and mention him, and I was like, oh, I just found out about this, and I'm so into it. And we connected and we learned, and you know, something always told me on the spiritual level that this is the real way to awaken the DNA of the body, which is what we want, right? As we will see later on, what it means to repair and evolve or strengthen your DNA. So this that looks a little bit too scientific. It's just a little explanation about what pH means. pH means the power of hydrogen. And as you know, hydrogen means water, right? H2O, 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 molecule of oxygen. This is water on solid state when it's frozen. As you can see, it's very compact. This is water when it's gas, very scattered everywhere. And this is water when it's liquid at room temperature. The crazy thing about water when it's a liquid at room temperature, like you can see it represented by these green arrows, is that it becomes electric. What does that mean? It means it can connect with other elements. It can attach itself to other elements. While it is solid, it cannot. While it is gas, it cannot. When it becomes room temperature, which is our body temperature, right? It becomes electric, and it becomes, that is to say, alive, right? And the terminology is very scientific, pH, power of hydrogen, and alkalinity, acidity, but they all have like this, for me at least, this kind of poetic wording that is really beautiful. And water becoming electric at room temperature is to say it becomes alive, and it has this faculty to be non-alive when it's frozen or solid, and then become completely wildly alive when it's at room temperature. Temperature is very important here. It plays an important role. So we'll see that later. So this is the acidity, alkalinity chart. You probably have seen it. This chart is on things that are more, I would say, organic. Obviously, there's chemical things that go way beyond, way beyond the marks here. Sorry. Is always doing this. Sorry. Okay, so it goes from 0 to 14, 0 being the most acidic, and 14 being the most alkaline, and 7 being neutral. Here we see some example of things that are acidic and things that are alkaline. And like I said, obviously at the two extreme, we also have chemical products like literal acid and like super alkaline solutions beyond sodium hydroxide. In the middle, distilled water, this is neutral pH. This should be our pH at all times. And it is our pH. If the body becomes, it can. And that's one of the things they are talking a lot about now. Acidosis is a disease caused by an excess of acidity in the body. In the same way, you can have alkalosis too. It's way less likely to have alkalosis than acidosis, but it's just an excess of acidity in the body. The body needs to keep the pH neutral, because you go into acidosis. This is the premise. how easy or hard it is for your body to keep the pH neutral depends a lot on the food you're giving it. So sometimes the body is really struggling to keep that as it is. But you can see gastric acid, and here you have bleach. Bleach is super alkaline. So when COVID happened and people were talking about drinking bleach, even though it's obviously toxic and non-recommended, it's because there were some chlorine capsules that were being used to fight the virus, which it worked. Not the same to say go and drink bleach, obviously, but there was some sort of logic behind that, that we also believe maybe the pharma didn't want us to recognize. So here's a very quick explanation. Base, we have base, acidity, and alkalinity. A base is a substance that neutralizes an acid. Alkali is a basic ionic salt of an alkali metal or alkaline earth metal element. Alkalis are best known for being bases that dissolve in water. Very technical. Acidity, pH is a measure of how acidity basic water is. The range goes from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. pH of less than 7 indicates acidity, whereas a pH of greater than 7 indicates a base. pH is really a measure of the relative amount of free oxygen and hydroxyl ions in the water. So hydrogen and hydrogen. It's like saying liquid and solid. What part of the water is very just water, and what part of the water, the solution, is other things attached. Other things that are not these H2O molecules, right? Everything else that can come into contact with water, they can dissolve in water, is going to give for a different pH. Alkalinity is the capacity of water to resist acidification. It should not be confused with basicity, which is not an absolute measurement of the pH scale. Alkalinity is the strength of a buffer solution composed of weak acids and their conjugated bases. So yeah, weak acids, other things, and the bases, the water, the alkalinity. All right, but here's what we really want to know about the power of hydrogen, pH, and the human body. Mucus, bronchial tube. Okay, let me move this. I don't know how you can see it here, but it's on the way. So mucus protects your respiratory system with lubrication and filtration. It's produced by mucous membranes that run from the nose to your lungs. Every time you breathe in, allergens, viruses, dust, and other debris stick to the mucus, which is then passed out of your system. Gastric mucus forms a layer about 1 millimeter thick that lines the stomach, protecting the organs from highly acid gastric juice and preventing the juice from digesting itself. Mucus is a slippery, gelatinous goo produced by your mucous membrane. It lines your mouth, nose, throat, sinuses, lungs, blah, 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 blah. It's 95% water and mixed with glycoproteins and other things. So what does this mean? It means that mucus has a function in your body. And we always talk about eradicating mucus. You can eradicate mucus because everything is in a natural order and everything has a reason to be. Mucus is here to protect your bronchial tubes, to ensure there's not a lot of external garbage, dust coming through your nose. It also, when you have an infection or something, it comes to protect the area. It lubricates your organs so they don't crash into each other, they don't hurt each other as you move. And very importantly also, it covers the inside of your stomach, because your stomach is organic matter. So if you didn't have mucus to cover your stomach, your stomach will eat itself, it will digest itself. So as I said, mucus has an important role in our body, and that's why we have mucus, and that's why we have foods that are acidic. But the problem here is that we have too much of it, right? Most of our food are acidic in our environment. So why do we have an excess of mucus? Mucus and illness from the three dimensionals. We're going to see it from the three ways. We have an excess of mucus, not just because of the food we eat, but also the lack of breath work we do and the water we have as well. This is what Dr. Sebi says: mucus is the cause of every disease. Eliminate the mucus and you eliminate the disease, right? This was his premise. And whether you believe it or not, once you start operating on that basis, that mucus is your problem on the physical plane, it becomes much easier to know what the target is. Maybe suddenly you don't have to start lowering your cholesterol or doing this. No, we need to get rid of mucus. It's an easier goal to achieve. It's an easier target than the million things that maybe the doctor may tell you. So the acidic environment, obviously you've seen a pool before, you know what a pool looks like, and you know that you alkalinize a pool in order to keep it clean, right? What happens when you don't put alkaline products in your pool? Well, you start getting this green mold that attracts infection, attracts infestation, attracts bugs, attracts everything that is not the things you want in your pool to swim in. This is water. This is water without an alkaline environment. This is what happened to it. And if you touch it, you know it will get like super, super slimy and moldy, like mucus, right? So that is the acidic environment. That's what happens. Things go green and gross. So then you have the alkaline environment, where water stays very clear and transparent and clean, and doesn't attract any infections or infestations. That is an alkaline pool. So you understand that your body is more than 17% water. Your body is a big pool. So water is very important element here. All the elements are important, but water is, if you start thinking of yourself in terms of water rather than muscle or whatever, you will start seeing yourself as something very differently, and your healing will be much differently too. Because water is life, water is electric, water is connect and heal, water is life, alive. The water in you is what you are. Electricity keeps us energized. Electricity keeps us immunized. Electricity keeps us alert. Electricity happens within you. How many volts you think you are charged with right now? If you have to say, like, if I'm telling you that you are an electric being, because you are, this is what happens. We work with electricity, and the water is a conductor. You need to energize. How many volts do you think you have right now? Could you do more? Could you do better? So this is the first element we talk about, water. Water in the human body, look at the numbers, right? Even your bones are 22% water, and some other parts even more, blood, for example, how much, circulating blood is circulating water. So think yourselves in terms of water, not in terms of solidity. But water, we move on now, water is just one of the elements, which is more or less 70% of you, but the other 30% of you is a mix of these ingredients. As you can see, earth, air, fire, and water. In life, on earth, at least as far as we know, there are 4 elements, and 5th, obviously, but 4 elements. The blocks of reality, the blocks of life are based on 4. The blocks of life, especially hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen. This is the elements that form life across the spectrum. Animals, plants, anything that is alive and breathing has these 4 elements. This is the equation of life. And each one represents also an element. Hydrogen is oxygen, oxygen is air, carbon is fire, and nitrogen is earth. So again, science and spirituality is always one. They may make you believe it's a different thing, but it's all taken from the spiritual side of things that is lived for millennials. Now, microscopes can see it, but, it's always been there. As you are hydrogen, you need hydrogen. As you're carbon, you need carbon. As you're oxygen, you need oxygen. As you're nitrogen, you need nitrogen. So oxygen, very important element after hydrogen. Did you know you can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, but only 3 minutes without air? Did you also know that most of us have not breathed right once in our life? In order for this electricity to happen, all the elements are important, but oxygen and carbon are in charge of combustion, like a steam train. We need them both to burn energy into our system. If you're not breathing properly, you cannot have enough power coming into your entire body. In order to perform all our activities, both physical and mental, we need volumes of fresh oxygen. This is why when we are tired, we yawn. It's because there's not enough oxygen coming in to burn more energy. Instead of yawning, try and take a deep breath. It's something I say to people, if you're feeling tired, and you yawning is nothing more than your brain giving you a signal that you need more oxygen, and you're tired, you need to go to sleep, obviously. But if you, instead of yawning, that takes a lot of effort, you take a deep breath or a couple even, you feel much better. And of course, if you exercise or go running or do anything, that as soon as you start running, the first thing that starts happening is you start feeling the mucus coming out, and you have to spit out a lot, which is good. It's good to spit it out. So your body trying to get rid of this mucus, but it's doing it through the breath, and the circulation is pushing out all of this mucus, excess of mucus in your body. I don't know if you know Wim Hof, the Iceman. He conducted a research with some scientists about whether this type of breathing techniques he has, or any breathing technique really, can alkalinize the body. And the results were, that he can. In fact, it's one of the main ways to alkalinize your body. If you're feeling heavy after a meal, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling like your body is not in the right place, is probably due to an excess of acidity, and just breathing and doing breathing exercises can bring it back to an alkaline state. And that breathing exercises, when you start feeling that mucus coming out, is so important that you take it out, that you don't swallow it again, that you don't, like everybody, all the kids do, bring with you always a tissue and just make sure to get it out of you. There's no point of exercising for the purpose of alkalinizing your body and then swallowing back your mucus over and over. Nitrogen is found in amino acids, the building blocks of protein and essential parts of DNA, but it represents only 3.3% of the body. Most foods are heavily fertilized with nitrogen in order to grow faster and bigger. See, we have to be careful. So we have to be careful not to overeat nitrogen in our food, or we are taking away from other elements, because it is a very, very heavy element. Nitrogen is a very heavy element. Obviously, like I say, we need it. In the nitrogen is where the acidity lies. All of these foods that I say that we need to eat to have mucus for our breathing, for our lubrication of our organs, is in the nitrogen, and it does build protein. It does make a massive function of amino acids. Remember, I say proteins are sequence chain of amino acids. And what are amino acids? We talk about protein and we talk about amino acids, and we go, let's get to the bottom of what these things are, so you understand what you need to eat. Because when they say protein, you go and look at food with protein. Protein is minerals. They're minerals, right? There are all sorts of minerals. So that's why Dr. Sebi makes such an important emphasis into call diet a mineral dense or mineral deficiency, not calorie deficiency or protein deficiency. Because in the end of the day, everything's minerals. And that's what we need, minerals. And there's some in nitrogen. But like I said, watch out where you buy your food, especially if it's food that grows on the ground, which are not really allowed in the alkaline lifestyle. They're heavily fertilized with nitrogen. Farmers know this. They use nitrogen, and it's super heavy. It's super heavy. It just creates so much mucus and blocks your body a lot. And when we talk about nitrogen, we always talk about potatoes. And people always ask me about potatoes. I just said we don't eat anything from under the ground, first of all. That's the premise. But this is what Dr. Sebi says. I didn't say the sweet potato was all right. That was made too. Man-made. The red potato, the red rose found in Lake Titicaca in Peru, that is where the Irish people became acquainted and took it back to Ireland. Remember, the Irish people were the first to go to Peru. They did a lot of research in Peru, and they did a lot of things in Peru. And when they found this potato, they took it back to Ireland, and they began to hybridize the potato and get what you call russet potato, the red rose. But the natural potato looked like a red rose. The red rose, I would recommend that you eat that because it's the first generation away from the mother, from the base, which came from Lake Titicaca. but not a sweet potato. A sweet potato has such a high concentration of nitrogen that it will really play a buck on your system. Yes. So aside from everything he just said, remember anything growing on the ground is also going to absorb a lot of heavy metals, just falling down from the sky or from the fertilizers or from the machinery. Anything grown under the ground is going to grow. That's why we eat the plant. The plant doesn't absorb as much, maybe some, but as much of all the bad things that you may find on the ground. It's okay if you buy from organic stuff, certified ground, but it's kind of hard to always make sure that eating like that. And carbon, here's a little bugger. Carbon is we talk a lot about carbon. We talk a lot about all the elements, but we talk a lot about carbon. It's approximately 18% of human body weight. Carbon is the basic building block required to form proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and it plays a crucial role in regulating the physiology of the body. Gases and liquid compounds that contain carbon also can affect the body. When you talk about carbohydrates, when you talk about proteins, when you talk about enzymes, when you talk about amino acids, you always have to involve carbon in the equation. Carbon is super important. It's part of the combustion, right? And also spiritually speaking, there's the whole connotation with the diamond body, right? How to hack your DNA, how to improve your DNA until you go from this dark thing, which is what we come into this. Remember, carbon is diamonds are the only precious rocks conform on only one element, which is carbon. They don't need to mix with any other element. Carbon diamonds are just carbon. And it starts like this, and it's super abundant. And then it transforms over a very strong period of pressure into something so clear, so crystal. Our body, our DNA is carbon-based. All life on Earth is carbon-based. You heard that, no? Altered carbon. There's a couple shows on Netflix that are weird about stuff like this. Life is carbon-based. When people talk about diamond body, crystal body, it is not just a spiritual metaphor, although it is. Of course, you need to use the mind to transform your DNA. It's not just about the food you eat, but it's also physical to transform the body from this to this. That is the process we're on, right? So let's talk more about carbon, because melanin means black amino, and is a color pigment composed of hydrocarbon chain, which has various amino nitrogen-based compounds attached to it. It is carbon that gives melanin its blackness. Carbon is the organizing molecule that gives melanin its structure. Melanin is a type of pigment that gives color to hair, eyes, humans, animals, in addition to providing pigmentation to the cells. Melanin also absorbs harmful UV rays and protects against cellular damage from UV light exposure. Melanin is what gives us the color on the skin. But here where Dr. Sebi says, no, wait a minute, we've been lied to again. He says melanin is a belief, not a reality. The USHA research disregard the word melanin. If melanin determines life, what is it then that when people come to us with nerve problems, with energy problems, we give them substance known as iron, which is a mineral. Draining the iron with carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Melanin has no place in the biochemical structure. Melanin is not a mineral. Melanin is a word that we use to describe a certain biological function, but the particular identification or category or thing melanin is a European identification of what the thing activates those neurons in our body that make us black. When you break down our body, our biological structure, into what we will have to put in, which is biochemistry, melanin has no place. It's not to be found. What is found in the body that is attributed to melanin is carbon. Carbon not only determines the quality of life in black folks, carbon determines the quality of life in every living plant that exists, that is natural. If carbon is absent, there's no life. And it determines the quality of life. What Dr. Sebi says is that by losing our pigmentation, by losing our carbon, we have lost our way of life. we have lost our connection, because life is carbon based. And that carbon base has a connection to a spiritual, lifestyle, emotional implications that we cannot grasp. First of all, because we don't know, and second, because it's been suppressed, right? And some people don't like it. They call it Afrocentrism. But this idea that Black folks have a deeper connection with our origins, with our lifestyle, with happiness, with joy, and there are a lot of I don't like saying bad, but the horrible things that happen are done by white people who have lost the pigmentation, and those losing the carbon, and those losing that connection to the divine, because carbon is the way, the path. So it's not just about your color, your skin. It's not about that. It's about your connection with the divine. But like I said, this generates a lot of controversy around white people. I don't believe it's something to be, like angry about or anything like that. I just think it's something that is true. And for me to understand that, since I lost a lot of carbon in my skin, in one good thing that comes from it, I can absorb a lot more from the sun, because my skin is clear, so a lot more of the sun comes through. But it is true, it's more dangerous. You have to be careful with it. But if you are in a place where there's not a lot of sunlight, having no pigmentation in your skin means that you can absorb more sunlight. So it's good. It's good. It's not good with Black people living in cold, cloudy countries, because they don't absorb enough vitamin D. So it causes all sorts of troubles in the immune system. So it's an adaptation process to lose that pigmentation, but it means that we lose something else. In order to live in colder countries, we have to give up our skin pigmentation, and that means that now we have to work extra hard to make those connections that come naturally when you are exposed and you have that carbon base in your body. So alkaline nourishment. Now let's go to a little bit of the food. Anything God made is on the alkaline side. Why? Because the molecular structure is complete. Anything man-made has to use starch. Starch is a binder. That means that anything we have on our list, we can eat straight from the plant. Like, we don't need to cook. We don't need to cook it. And maybe you dehydrate it in order to make flour with it, like you would do with spelt or quinoa, but you can still eat it fresh, straight from the plant. As opposed to, for example, a potato or a sweet potato or a peanut. You cannot eat those things from the plant. You have to cook that. What else? Maybe there's a few like carrots, but most of them need to be cooked in order to be eaten. And that means they're man-made, because whatever God made is ready for nourishment. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are the main players in not only supporting life, but in the manifestation of life. See how he leaves nitrogen to the side. It's not because it's an element that we don't need. It's because it's an element that is so heavy and present that we don't need to work hard to get any nitrogen in our food. It's already there. So we need to really work hard on the other three, okay? And they play that role because while Earth is there as a continent for everything, a holder, and our body is Earth in that sense, are the only three elements, the ones supporting movement, supporting thought, supporting all these activities that we humans do, and animals. So we need to focus on that cycle. They are the three that participate actively in the production of energy and electricity and movement. So electric food, this is what we call it. Why we need to eat electric food. Electric foods are alkaline food which help the body heal and nourish itself. Alkaline food above a pH of 7 and above. Electric foods are found in nature. They are not hybrid, genetically modified, and they are non-irradiated. Electric food help us increase the copper within the nervous system, thus a greater use of one's brain and senses. Electricity is the reason why humans' body can move, crawl, walk around, climb, lift, etc. Without electricity, there will be no movement. So electric food. Copper, we talk about carbon before, but now we talk about copper, food rich in copper. Because, if you have a wire, if you ever open a wire, the copper is the way of conductivity. So we need foods that are rich in copper as well, which is another metal, right? So now let's talk about natural food versus GMO food. Like we said, non-hybrid food. It just said on the thing, right? It just said non-hybrid food. It's just a painting, but this is a representation on a watermelon in 1645 in a painting. This is a watermelon now. And if you're lucky, if you find one seed inside the watermelon, you know, most of them don't have any seeds anymore. Bananas then with seeds, bananas now without seeds. Corn, the original corn. Look at this corn, and this is kind of like a simple piece of corn compared to what corn looks like today, especially when grown in monocultivation. All of these weird, colorful things that I don't know why we make. And animals, of course. People always ask, oh, what about eggs? Eggs tend to have an alkaline pH, but eggs are not a natural food. Imagine a chicken in nature would lay 1 egg a month, a chicken or a bird. 1 egg a month. That is to say, he had a period, she had a period, right? A chicken today lays 1 egg a day. I always tell women, imagine having your period 365 days of the year. Poor chickens don't eat their eggs. It's supporting a slavery of females that unfortunately happens throughout all nature. The cow, the chicken, the pig, the females are the ones always getting enslaved, genetically modified. I don't know if you watch my video about pork, but you know, my father is a farmer and he told me about F1 pigs, which are pigs that are genetically modified and their babies don't have babies. So they're like seedless animals, basically. And remember, you are genes. They are genes. Everything mutates genes when you eat all the time. But not just that, you know, your environment, everything mutates your genes. When you eat genes that are being modified constantly, they are sterile without life force. You become sterile or life force, thus having all of these problems, mental, physical, spiritual, and also, yes, literally sterile. So hybrid foods, what are they? Are man-made cross-pollinated foods which do not naturally occur, cannot grow in the wild or produce, many are seedless, are grafted by people and can only be grown by people, are extremely imbalanced in minerals and vitamin ratios. Imbalances causes mineral deficiency, which eventually causes bone loss, but all other mass loss of mass in different organs and parts of the body. Sugars are not recognized by the digestive system, pancreas and liver. So some examples of hybrid food: pink lady, gala, Fuji, burn apples, mineola, tangelo oranges, yellow corn, seedless fruit like grapes, squash, melon, cucumbers, crossbreed animals, cows, pig, chickens, crossbreed vegetables, carrots, beet, garlic, lemon. These are all hybrid foods. Okay, just know that. I mean, obviously, we live in the land of the lemons, and we are ashamed to see all those lemons go to waste. But don't think that when you're having a whole lot of lemons, you're having something that is truly healthy for you. As we see, the original citrus is the lime, the little lime, that is almost impossible to find. My question is always like, why is it so hard to find? Why do we have so much of the hybrid food and virtually nothing of the original that made that food? Like, for example, do you know that the only non-hybrid bean is the chickpea? And you can research that. You can look that up. All the other beans, you know, let it be lentils, let it be peas, green beans, you know, broad beans, all of them, they're patent. Patent means that they have been created in a lab, and whoever created it went online or went to the office and said, this is my invention, I invented this. Most soybean is one of the most hybrid foods there is. And when even though it's been in Asia for centuries, before being hybridized, it was no alkaline food. It was still on the acidic side. So it's not a good food to eat. And it's one of the things that people have moved from animal to soy. On top of that, it has a ton of hormonal things that imbalance women's cycles. And so, yeah, just If you're, just look at the pH level and you know. So then complete versus incomplete molecules. Gluten is a starch. Starch is carbonic acid. Gluten clogs the system, erodes in the system, and wears the system down. It will rob you of your iron and deliver sulfides in your body. The sulfides will cause cancer. What does this mean? You know when you wash something that you made with flour, with white flour, with normal flour, and you wash it and the flour gets stuck on your sponge? That's what gluten does in your body, an excess of gluten. Especially the ones that have no fiber, right? Because if you eat a whole grain, you will still have the fiber, and the purpose of fiber is always to clean the body. But if you eat white flour, white rice, they have no fiber, it's not gonna clean it. It's just gonna let it get stuck there. And a lot of people suffer from inflammation in the gut. It's from the gluten and the meat, it just gets stuck there. It takes forever to get broken down, and it sits in your intestine for days, causing it to rot there, causing you stomach ache, bad breath, trouble sleeping, trouble functioning, constipation, all of those things affect your mental capabilities, your mental states. I know, I used to have that. So starch is a bad thing. Starch is an amylum in a polymeric carbohydrate consisting of numerous glucose units joined by glycoside bonds called polymers. This polysaccharide is produced by most green plants as energy storage. Dr. Sebi on starch. Starch is not food. Starch is chemical. Anything that God made has no starch. Dr. Sebi. Starch is what you get once you break the grain. That's what he's saying. It's a chemical process. They use chemicals to separate the white flour or the white rice from the whole grain. While it's on the whole grain, it has no starch. It's a chemical process to break it down. And then you get something that is, no natural at all. I was reading yesterday that a sandwich in Popeye, which they don't have chains here, but you have it somewhere like Burger King or McDonald's, has like 40 ingredients, of which, 30 are chemicals. So, okay. We should be able to eat our food raw from the plant. That is the main premises, right? That's what I said. If you can eat it from the plant, then is the thing. While the Mayas, Incas, and the past Black men only had alkalinity, they do not have the problems we have today in the scientific world. We receive life in the alkaline world. When we received life, when we became alive in this planet, the environment was alkaline for the most part. There was no acidity food, only the absolute necessary food that we needed to create that mucus for the body. What he's saying basically is the acidity environment was created by scientific world, by science, which also has created all the diseases that comes with the acidity world, which is one of the theories that we support, the fact that most diseases are caused by humanity and not by nature. And very possibly there were not as many diseases back then as we think they were. And the history is being rewriting as we speak right now. So healing with electric foods. Does your hair grow back when you cut it? Yes. Do your nails grow back when you cut them? Yes. Does your kidney still work because you're healing, your body still heals it? The kidney, the arm, the legs are all connected to one body. You can't cure the kidneys without curing the nasal drip or the ulcer. It's all interconnected and interrelated. The only difference with the nails and the hair is they're in oxygen all day long. The organ need oxygen too. As a matter of fact, every disease is based on oxygen deficiency or lack of oxygen. Breath work, guys, breath work. Let's figure out how we can get healing oxygen flowing through your body and to your self-healing kidney. Dr. Sebi, self-healing kidney. Your kidney here is self. It's true. It says, the premise is also that we can regrow and heal any part of our bodies. We'll talk a little bit more down also how cells reproduce and how we can use the power of our minds for that. But anytime I'm doing this course, people ask me, oh, I have this problem. What should I do? I always want to tell them, eat this, eat that. But really what I want to really say is you need to do breath work. Like without breath work, there's not, that's the first step. If you can now master a good breathing system for yourself, where you have moments in your day when you breathe, when you do active healing with breath, then you can eat all the healthy food, take all the pills, do, all the herbs. It's oxygen, like Dr. Sebi said. The difference with hair and nails is that they're exposed to oxygen on their own all the time. But your body's not. The inside of your body needs oxygen flow, especially your brain, which is the one in charge then through your nervous system to heal the rest of your body, right? So the brain is short on oxygen, is stress, the rest of your body is not getting all of that oxygen. So no cure for the common cold, no cure for diabetes, no cure for cancer, leukemia, sickness, cold, anemia, AIDS, blindness, and no other diseases. Well, if the physician clearly show us that there's no cure for any diseases, what do they understand? How old is the medicine that we're practicing today? It is 265 years old. If Mr. Hippocrates used the herbs to cure every disease known to man, then 2,000 years later, why aren't we doing so? Because the healer has been educated, mind what I say, formal education is brainwashing, and the substance he uses is artificial, and he's totally unaware of that. Why? Because he learned his craft from an armchair position, no field research. And this is what Dr. Sebi did: travel the world, test his food, come up with this list. Try it again, try it again, try it again. Worked, worked, worked. So the Alka list. Let's quickly go through the alkaline list, and then we'll leave it here for now. Oof, can't really see it like that, but I always post the list underneath anyway. The Alka list is, there's quite a few things: avocados, cucumbers, dandelion greens. Oh, dandelion greens are the best. Kale, tomato cherries or pears, most of the green vegetables that can grow above, except for maybe spinach, which is super acidic. Like I said, chickpeas, watercress. We tend to use pumpkin, even though it's not the right type of pumpkin because it's not the original one the Dr. Seb is talking about. But, we use pumpkin because they grow above earth. You have also chilies, peppers, cactuses like nopales, courgettes. What else we eat? Onions. Normally we tend to eat the green part of the onion, not the bottom, because it grows on the ground, as we talked. And then in fruits, all fruits, most fruits, except for pineapple and kiwis, which are both lab-made fruits. They're not even fruits. I mean, pineapple is like an artichoke. It grows from a plant, not from a tree. So it's not a fruit. Here are some grains you can eat: amaranth, fonio, kamut, quinoa, rice, spelt, teff, wild rice. Curiously, spelt is also one of Hildegard's favorite thing ever. She says they're so good for you. And she wrote this book in the year 1000 about physica, about how foods interact with the body, how to eat with food. And she talked about spelt being like one of the best things to clean your body, to get rid of a lot of things in your body. Oils: olive oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, sesame oil, hemp seed oil, avocado oil. They're all good. Natural herbal teas. This is, Dr. Sebi was an herbalist. He was not a nutritionist. He posted the notions of the food, but really his healing came from mostly fasting and natural herbal teas, like burdock, chamomile, elderberry, fennel, ginger, raspberry, tila. This is the really healing. This is the thing. This contains all the minerals. This is what's going to clean your body, what fortifying your body. And having these teas every day is really, really the most important part, aside the breathing part of the alkaline healing, right? Water. Which water is recommended to drink by Dr. Sebi? Spring water. Natural spring water only, no exceptions. No alkaline water, no filter water, no tap water. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of things out there. I still, I've tried a few things, like Kangen water and all that. I just can't get behind it because I don't understand how it works. I don't feel it. I look at the water. I don't think it's clean enough. As I said, a lot of products are alkaline on the bleach side, so I don't know if they've been bleached or what. We should have neutral water, a spring, hopefully. So if you can get your hands in that, then that is the best way. There's no other type of water that is as good for us as spring clean water. So sweet and salt. Sugar is not for us. Sugar is very bad. Clear. Dr. Sebi, sugarcane cane juice has the highest concentration of starch. The starch does to the body is it clogs, it obstructs, it eats away on your knees or your hips. It eats away your body, sugar. Like literally your body cannot digest it. So it does all sorts of things. And my kids always says, they say this thing like, you have another stomach to digest sugar, you know, to put dessert always. The kids say that sometimes. Because sugar is not digested to the body. So it doesn't really, I think there's an element of weird truth behind that. Like it just goes through another way in your body. So sugar also has another issue that they've been studying lately. In order to create insulin, to digest the sugar, to process the sugar that your liver does, you know, hormones are liquids like insulin, and certain genes are in charge of giving the order to produce the hormone, whichever will be. The gene in charge of this is located near the pituitary gland and is called PP2, which is the one that activates whenever you eat sugar. And they just found out that while the PP2 gene activates, it deactivates another one, which is the PP1. And the PP1 gene is in charge of mental functions and memory. So now they're thinking that a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's are linked to sugar consumption. So if you're somebody that forgets things a lot or has a lot of, you know, mental fogs or things like that, maybe you want to look at your sugar intake because it's causing that. It's causing that, yeah. So pink salt versus table salt, you know, obviously, I was gonna say about this. Okay, here we go. Pink salt. Pink salt we use, you know, there's all the salts you can use like seaweed. If it's quite expensive. Seaweed that is being ground is quite good for you. And on the list of foods, seaweed and mushrooms also for thyroid health are the best things you can consume. But let's go to salt. Sorry, again, in the all the seaweeds are allowed, and all mushrooms except for shiitakes are alkaline. Okay, shiitake is man-made. So pink salt, hunt mine in the Himalaya mountains because dynamite use is forbidden. Weird. Contains 84 essential minerals required by the human body. The body has 116, so that's quite a lot of minerals there. Beneficial source of magnesium, promotes healthy pH balance, helps regulate blood sugar levels, help regulate body sleep cycle. Salt is very important for the body. Salt has been demonized as a problem because the salt we consume, the table salt, is very bad for you, and it crystallizes when it hits the sun hits it, so then it cuts through your arteries a bit when you're digesting it. But table salt has zero nutrients after high heat purification process. Includes anti-caking compounds, contain fluoride. I mean, if you don't know about fluoride by now, you know, it's like where you're living in a tupper. Bad salt, bad sodium, leading to high blood pressure and even cancer, weakens bones and blood circulation. So when you go to the doctor and say, oh, you have high blood pressure, you have to stop eating salt. It's the salt you eat that causing the blood pressure. The type of salt. You need salt. And if you cut salt completely from your diet, that's a very unhealthy thing to do. But doctors are saying that, stop eating salt. Instead of saying eat the right salt and stop eating processed food. They also have lots of bad salt and sugar in it, right? Okay. So dates, source of sweets, we use dates. Dates are a much lower. Dates are super alkaline. They go like to 8 sometimes or 9 on the alkaline chart. and they're super tasty, and you can make sugar with them or buy sugar. You can buy syrup. You can eat them like that. Obviously, you shouldn't eat too much of it. It's still going to spike your insulin if you eat a whole box of it. But a couple a day really have a much, much lower insulin peak when you eat them like that. Some herbal and spices, basil, ginger, cayenne. Cayenne is one of our top star things here. Cayenne can stop a heart attack, like literally. And when you are feeling with a cold, and there's nothing better than cayenne. You have it, you start, the mucus just comes out. When people eat spicy food, what happens? They start doing all these things. It's because it's pushing all the mucus out of your body. So eat cayenne, drink cayenne in your, put it in your smoothies, put it in your things, and then clean your body. It really is really antioxidant, really powerful herb. Black pepper, fennel, clove, basil, black pepper again, cayenne again, ginger, dill. All right, so, and this is what I was talking about before, 3-dimensional being, healing every aspect of the self. So far, we've done body, and then we're going to move into the connection between body and spirit, which gives us chi energy. And then to mind and spirit, we give us the subconscious mind, and body and mind, we gives us emotions. These are in the middle, we become aware when we put all these three beautiful circles and these three beautiful basic pieces to work for our health. The body becomes this very solid, strong center block of consciousness into this universe. But that is for a different video. This is just a presentation of the alkaline reprogram that we do. We are going to be sharing also more recipes and more ideas on what to eat. But like I said, let's not limit ourselves only to food. Food is the third thing we worry about. First is breath. Second is liquid, water, herbs, teas, infusions, and then finally the food. We need to get that even though we love food and food is our biggest passion and we know we love to eat, we need to get that really straight. We need to put that in the priority order that we should. So that's why we also are going to talk about fasting and going to talk about how to fast properly, how to train yourself to fast without getting sick, how to breathe, how to make infusions with herbs, how to mix them with other things, what to use, what not to use, what not to use too much of. Herbs are very powerful. What things we recommend, what things we don't. So yeah, this is hopefully you like. If you have any comments, questions, please leave it behind, leave it underneath. And if you're thinking about starting the alkaline path, you can contact us. If you live in our area, you can always get our meal plans. And if you don't, you can get a mentoring program, whether it's in your house around here or online. We have done it online many times. We just send you a list of ingredients. You go and buy your own things, and then we connect and I help you and I teach you how to use them. The one-to-one process is quite different to the group process. And one-to-one process, we can really work on whatever you need, specifically what you're going through. And also we talk a lot about the emotional attachment with food. It's not all about just, I want to give this up. There are emotional things and also program things from society. They're very hard to give up. So we help and we support you along the way with knowing somebody's behind you and knowing somebody's helping you, and also keeping your process recorded. It really helps you make such changes much, much easier. So it's all about thinking of yourself as water, thinking of yourself as an immune system who needs to be strong in order to protect you from anything and everything. And it's about realizing that when you choose the alkaline lifestyle, one of the things that I found the most gratifying of all is the amount of time that has freed in my life. How? Because you just saw the list, even though it was a bit blurry. I'm going to send you a better list. You just saw the list, right? That's it. That's what we eat. Almost nothing aside from the list. Very rarely, very rarely. What does that mean? It means that I know where to shop every time. I do one day of the week dedicated to my shopping. I go to the market, I go to the health stores, and I get all my things. Some of them I get online, and this is my list. I make sure my pantry has as many of those things as I can. Obviously, it's impossible for us to eat everything in the list. And that is my life. And I am never walking around the supermarket like I used to, just going around like, what should I get? What should we eat? Should I eat this? Should I check the list of ingredients to see what bad things it has in it? Never, never. It's always on a mission. Our food now right now is a mission. We know what we get, we know where to get it from, we know what we don't eat, and that is truly simplifying our lives so much. Like our friend said, we don't look at food like something that is enjoyable, although we enjoy what we cook a lot. We have a more gourmet end with things. It's about the points. It's about getting points. It's about how the food either adds points to your system or takes them away. And when you start seeing food like that, like if you were, Mario Bros, eating the mushrooms and what you can get from this mushroom, what you can get from this food, then it just makes those choices so easy. And it's hard to go back. Like I said, a few times when you say, oh, go on, I've been so good, I'm just going to get this. Then you regret it because your body feels different. Your body, your skin, your system, your mind, it all feels different, right? And one thing also about the alkaline diet, and people will always ask me about fermented food. We don't eat fermented food because fermented foods are, even though they can promote gut health, and today days everybody's eating this. There's different ways that I have to analyze the things that Dr. Sebi says about fermented stuff or about things like this. One of them being one of the first times that I ever heard about probiotics was from the system, was from Actimel, right? They started promoting this probiotic thing, and I don't trust things like that. So I stopped eating fermented foods, mostly because Dr. Sebi, but also because I did my own research with things. Our diet is very strong to kill parasites. Parasites don't only affect our body, they affect our mind too. And we need to kill parasites. And fermented foods are not going to help you kill parasites. The opposite, in fact. So we need to get to a point of strength where we're eating food that they're not fermented, but they can also help us keep a very healthy flora. That's one of the reasons we don't eat garlic, because garlic, even though it's super antibacterial, and when you have a disease or infection in your ear, in your tooth, they say it's very good for you. And I'm sure it is. If you eat garlic regularly, you are killing the bacteria you need. So in one hand, you're taking an Actimel, or buying kombucha or eating masa madre that costs a fortune, bread. And in the other hand, you're eating garlic. It's crazy. It causes your bacteria to die. That's why you get such a bad breath with it. It's because it's the gas of exploding bacteria. So these health trends that we jump on because we heard it somewhere, if we don't research it, they may be costing us money, health, and put us in a vicious cycle that is really not healthy for our minds, especially because we think we're doing something good for ourselves, but then we're not feeling it, we're not seeing it. And I think fermented food is one of those things. I am sure the people that eat lots of flour and meat and rice and potatoes and things like that have such a clog in the stomach that a little bacteria can help move that things along and digest faster, eat away faster all that clogging ball of gluten and meat and all of those things that you may have in your stomach. But for somebody that eats mostly alkaline, there's really no need to eat fermented food, and you may be adding extra bacteria that now may be causing you to eat away the things that you actually need. That's sort of the point of view I think we have with it. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys, I see you next video. If you are interested, let me know. And I hope you have a brilliant, brilliant week. And yeah, enjoy yourselves and look after yourself and take care of your mind, body, and soul. as they need you healthy, especially these days. More than ever, our immune system is the best defense we have against everything. Right, guys? Bye.